We have a new tie rod installation, new center link. And we're going to do a front end alignment on this. This is a 1994 Jeep Cherokee Sport XJ. And the alignment is done by turning this rod. Right now it's new, so it can be turned by hand. But by turning this, you lengthen or shorten the length between the two knuckles. So with this all new, this is the greatest time to show how this works, because with my hand I can adjust the alignment on this. So one side has left-handed threads, the other side has right-handed threads. And they both go out at the same time and they both come in at the same time. One complete turn of this is about a ½ an inch. And when it's properly aligned, you take these clamps and you tighten them down, and that's it. So when the tie rod's been in service for a while, it's not easy to turn as it is on this new installation we got going. You can see the tooling marks here. And that's where guys at the tire center are using some sort of gripping method to turn this. They probably have a special tool they bought off the Snap-on truck for just this application. $1995, 1998, 2000, 2015, 2017, 2010. So a front end alignment is about 65 to 100 bucks. If you're gonna spend a lot of money on tires, I recommend you get your front end aligned at the tire center where you bought the tires. Alright, so this Jeep XJ is all stock. There's no lift. So tires for this, there's many good brands out there. But a nice hybrid tread tire, you're looking at about 150 bucks each. So 65 bucks for a front end alignment, well worth your money. But this particular XJ is not ever going to get $150 tires. So I'm going to line this myself. Once again, I recommend that you go to a professional and do this. But you could always do this in your backyard, like I'm doing it. Alright, so under normal driving conditions, they recommend you get your front end aligned once or twice a year. So you're bringing this into the shop and you're paying a guy because he owns all the equipment. It's not even worth his time putting your car up on his equipment. That takes him an hour to set the whole thing up. Right there's an hour of pay, okay? So at the end of the day, though, all he's doing on this vehicle is turning this tie rod. And that's what I'm going to do today, is turn that tie rod. For my initial adjustment, I adjusted the new tie rod to the exact length of the one that came out. Watch that knuckle reposition as I turn this rod. That's how you align the front end on this Jeep XJ. You lengthen or shorten the distance between the two knuckle tie rod end attachment points. Alright, this is the plane that we want to be perpendicular with on the other side. So this is a drywall tool. If we can get a material similar to this, make sure it's rigid in space. This is kind of flimsy. And we measure from one side to the other. The farther out the better. And they're equal from here to the other side. Left to right I'm talking about. Then we're aligned. Okay, I'm not going to destroy my drywall T-square for this. Let's look around and see what we can find that'll work. We want it lightweight. We want it to be rigid in space. And we want to be able to measure accurately from left side of this to the right side. Can't be too long. Let's reiterate again, lightweight would be good. Alright, something like this would be awesome. This is about the right size. It's certainly going to be rigid enough. But that's fucking heavy and it's rusted to hell. So I'm not going to use that. My son had a science project and I think we were testing the strength of different materials. So I've had this shit sitting up here. He's in his 30s now. For a long time. All right, these are all going to be too short, but these are a good example of different materials. Now that would be good, but it's too short. That's not very rigid. That's kind of heavy, so all right, I have a bunch of shit laying around. So I'm going to show you some places where you can get stuff like this, because you don't have access to the stuff I have laying around. All right, this is going to work just great. It's lightweight. It's very rigid. And better than that, this was free. This is for a carpet installation. It got drilled incorrectly. So let's cut this to a good size. When we measure from left to right, forward, we're probably going to be able to measure across the top of this. But at the rear, we're going to have to probably measure from the bottom of this. So let's take a good look at how we would install this. All right, when we measure this with our calibrated measuring tape, on this side we have plenty of room, but there's no way we're going to go over the top of this lower control arm. There's the exhaust. So we're going to have to measure from under the control arms. So that being discovered, we're going to mount this on the bottom. So I can come out here pretty far forward. Let's just make it the length of the wheel well. If we make it the length of the wheel well, we can always trim it down if we need to. Let's cut it right here. What the hell? That's good enough. Measure this, split it in two. $29 3/4. $14 and something. All right. $29 3/4. So 14 is 28. Split the 1/2 inch or the inch, and then 3/4 is 3/8. Right there's our center. All right, these two aren't exactly the same length. It's just not that critical, but a little bit extra time spent here will give us a better quality alignment. All right. $14 and 11/16. All right, clip this in place with a C-clamp. Which way is going to be better? One way's as good as the next, I guess. As long as they're both the same. So I'm butting this up against these two lugs. And this represents the plane. So this is extending the plane out. The farther out, the more accurate we're going to get. And this can be rotated along this plane. I think we will be able to measure through here. So I'm just selecting this setup If it doesn't work out, we can flip this over and do some more sheet metal work if we need to. But this looks good enough. All right, we're set up to take some measurements. We're centered between these two, and this is butted up against these lugs. This is extending our plane out. Let's go look at the other side. All right, and we're set up here, centered. This is butted up against these two lugs. And there's our plane that we're going to be measuring. Let's take our initial measurements. All right, I'm a one-man show, so I'm gonna clamp this right here. All right, the exhaust is in the way. We're gonna have to reposition this if this is gonna work. All right, let's take our first measurement from the front. $60 3/8. All right, it's not worth the effort trying to measure through the top of the control arm, so let's just measure from the bottom. $59 15/16. Toe out. So let me write this down so I don't fuck it up. 60 3/8 in the front, 59 15/16 in the back. We're toe out. We need to bring this in. So we will shorten the length of the tie rod. So I have no idea which way to turn this. I'm just gonna let's turn it. Here's the part number. We'll use that as a starting point. My calibrated tape measure says I went the wrong way. Now we're at 60 1/2. So I'm going to use the part number on that tie rod and go the other way. All right, using this part number as a reference, we went clockwise, looking at it from the right side. So let's turn it counterclockwise. We'll go 3 full turns and see where we're at. One, two, three. All right, 3 full turns counterclockwise. Was the wrong way. 61 1/4. So I'm gonna have to put a little mark on my shoe so I know which way I'm going. All right. So the clockwise and counterclockwise is looking in it from the right. And I just went counterclockwise 3 turns. Let's bring it back to where we were at the beginning. 1, 2, 3. And I can see that we're going more toward toe in now. Let's go 2 more clockwise. 1, 2. $60 1/8. 60 1/4. That's really close. 60 1/8, 60 1/4. I don't know. I'm not a mathematician. We're about a 1/8 of an inch off. 60 1/4 and 60 1/8. That's about as good as we're gonna get. Let's double check everything. All right, we're still centered here. And we're up against the lugs. All right, we're still butted up against these lugs and centered. $60 1/4. $60 1/8. So we're just a small bit toe in. Let's try to get this exact. All right, we don't need to go very far with this. We need to go counterclockwise. Let's just turn it 1/4 turn. See what happens. Now our part number's at the bottom. $60 1/2 3/8. $60 1 2 3/8. Let's go to the other side and confirm that we're aligned. $60 1 2 3/8. 60 and 1 2 3/8. All right, that's aligned. Let's tighten it up and call it good. The tie rod sleeve clamps are 20 foot-pounds. With my finger, I can feel the slot, so I want to center that up on there. So that's getting tight now. I want this nice and squared up with this. I just changed the adjustment. Oh, man. We're not going to worry about it. But that's a good point. We want to definitely make sure this is tight enough not to spin this. So 20 foot-pounds isn't a lot. Ten. All right, before we start worrying about torquing this, let's get them both snug down a little bit. Center that up a little better on that slot. right, 20. All right, that's 20. And that's not going anywhere now. Let's check our measurements one last time. All right, the sleeves for the tie rod ends are torqued 20 foot-pounds. Let's take a final measurement. We'll see if we moved anything during our tightening of that. All right, 60 and 1, 2, 3, and those are 16ths, not 8ths. So 1, 2, 3, 16ths. $60 and 1, 2, 3, 16ths, not 8ths. But either way, we're gonna call that good.